Hello again. Now, sometimes at the end of my book reviews, you will hear me say something like, I really look forward to reading what this writer does next. And that was definitely the case with the writer I'm going to talk about today, Niven Govinden. This is his new novel, All the Days and Nights, which is published by the Friday Project. His previous novel, Black Bread, White Beer, was a really enjoyable book, but as I say, I was kind of intrigued to see what he would do next. And nothing really could have prepared me for what I think is a gigantic leap forward for him as a writer. All the Days and Nights is a really, really exciting book for all sorts of reasons, and hopefully I'll cover those in just a few minutes. Just to give you an idea about plot, first of all, this book is set in America, on the east coast of America, in 1980, and it looks at an artist called Anna Brown. I heard Niven on the radio talking about this at the weekend, and he was talking about why it was set in that period, and it's because we're looking at the sort of the twilight of painting, just before the era where modern art sort of refused to be constricted by anything like a canvas and sort of starts to come out into the gallery. She is a portrait artist, and for her whole life she's been working with canvas and oils and working with her long-term partner, her husband, and her muse, who is called John Brown, and he is the main focus of a lot of her painting. Now, this novel looks at their relationship, and the reason why it's told at the time that it's told is because their relationship has reached a fascinating point. She is dying, and he, at this point in their lives together, chooses that moment to walk out of the front door, ostensibly to go and buy more oil paints from the shop, and carries on walking, doesn't come back. And that is because he wants to go and look at the paintings of himself, a sort of examination of his lifetime, really. And it is because this novel, one of the overarching themes is to look back on a life devoted to the arts and to try and decide whether it was worth it, which is a really fascinating idea, I think. And this novel tells it from 2 points of view because, of course, we have the artist and we have the model or muse, and they both have very different viewpoints. Stylistically, Niven does something really interesting with the telling of John's story because he has walked out of the house, and so it's told in almost like a second person narration, and it's almost like Anna Brown is imagining where he is and what he is doing. And again at the weekend he said on the radio that this is an interesting idea about her, even within the telling of this story, exerting still control over him so that he doesn't really get to tell his own side of the story. She is telling it for him, and I think that stylistically that is an incredibly interesting thing to do. Second person narration is very hard and odd to read, and it doesn't work often, but it makes total sense within this novel. So stylistically, very, very clever. And what it also does, as I say, there's so many themes to do with death, to do with art, to do with expression, to do with exploitation of the people that you feature in your art. There's a really interesting idea about when you choose to make a portrait of somebody, and there's one part of the novel where she painted John when he was suffering from a trauma, and of course that comes out in the painting, and there's a really big question there about whether it is okay for the artist to exploit somebody else's pain or suffering for the good of the art. This is a book that will appeal to anybody who is involved in the arts, and I say the arts in an overarching way because it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm an actor, but I found lots of interesting stuff in here about the artistic impulse and the worth of art. But I think if you were a visual artist, if you were anything, a photographer, a painter, a musician, it applies to all artists or even all lovers of art. The writing is of, as I say, an extremely high calibre and a really big leap forward for him as a writer, as you know, compared to his previous novel. And I'll be saying at the end of this review, I am now, of course, totally fascinated to see where he's going to go next, because there is something very bold and ambitious about this book in terms of content, in terms of style, in terms of execution. And I think it's worth saying as well, for the Friday Project, as a publisher, to be publishing a book like this, and this comes after Mira Corpora by Jeff Jackson, which I reviewed not so long ago, another incredibly brave, dark, difficult book. Both of these books are incredibly slim, actually, but contain multitudes. And I just do a quick hat tip to the Friday Project for publishing both these books, because I think they're incredibly exciting, and it sort of changes my thought about them as a publisher, because I would never have thought of them as being that kind of publisher, but they're doing some really exciting stuff. If these books were being coming from a sort of trendy translated press, people would be raving about them and there'd be lots of articles about them. So I just hope that people will get a chance to read these books because I think they're both worthy of attention, and it makes you excited as a reader to know what might come next, which is where we started and where we'll end. So there we go. That is All the Days and Nights by Niven Govinden, which is out now from the Friday Project. Next, who knows? Let's hope it's exciting as that one. Take care.